Millions of years ago, this island, Madagascar, split off from Africa. Since then, the animals and plants have taken off on a bizarre and incredible evolutionary journey.
I'm Wolfe, exploring wild Madagascar. Join me on Travels to the Edge.
Madagascar lies off the southeast coast of Africa, the fourth largest oceanic island on Earth. Its size and geographic isolation have given rise to an abundance of biodiversity and unique landscapes.
It's home to 5% of all the world's plants and animals, over 200,000 species. And 80% of those species are unique to Madagascar.
But while Madagascar is one of the world's largest islands, it is densely populated by its Malagasy people. Most of them are farmers, and as a result, 90% of the island's original habitat has been lost to agriculture.
The places that remain intact in Madagascar are really there simply because they're so difficult to get to. The terrain and distances are great, and that is quite honestly why they still exist. I'm in the Tsingy Bemaraha National Park, which is the largest preserve here in Madagascar. The Tsingy looks like this jagged matrix of pinnacles and mountains that are rising into the sky. I'm very excited to start to get in and explore the various caverns and ridges and valleys in between these very jagged karst limestone formations. The Tsingy is a national park here in Madagascar, and so when you enter this landscape, you're required to have a guide. This is an amazing labyrinth of deep passageways and narrow canyons. And all along the way, there's roots that reach down from trees 200 feet above that get all the way down here into the deepest recesses where the water collects. The environment of the Tsingy is a real challenge, not only to move through and negotiate these jagged, razor-sharp pinnacles or rocks, but just to get a photograph is a real challenge. Get tired because you're either moving up or moving down, but rarely are you moving parallel. Whew. This is steep. Okay, crossing a 200-foot chasm above rock, razor rock. Oh yeah. What I try to do in a landscape like this is to emphasize what's most important about it, and to me, it's the texture of the rocks. This is truly a unique landscape here in Madagascar, and yet Madagascar itself is a vast island of unique phenomenon. We're about to see and explore the rest of this great island.
I think that's an interesting thing.
This one piece will make 52 layers.
Watch
on mobile devices or the big screen. All for free. No subscription required.
Heading to a remote reserve, one of the few remaining patches of original rainforest on this environmentally challenged island. Because of Madagascar's biological richness, it's the top priority for many of the world's conservation groups. Accompanying me on this journey through Madagascar is Russ Middemeyer, noted conservationist and an expert in primatology.
Russ, you got projects all around the world. What's so great about Madagascar?
Well, Madagascar, from a biodiversity perspective, is really a country of superlatives. We who work in the so-called biodiversity hotspots consider Madagascar to be the single highest priority hotspot on the planet. It's just an amazing place. I mean, it's been separated from the African mainland for probably about 160 million years, and separated from India, to which it was also connected, for about 80 or 90 million years. So for that whole period, evolution has proceeded on its own in isolation from the rest of the world. So you've got a variety of animals here that are unique, and the levels of endemism, species that occur nowhere else, are unmatched on the planet. I mean, what attracted me here to begin with was the lemurs, these non-human primates that are 100% endemic to Madagascar.
When I was here before, they were so gentle. They're almost like a polite monkey in a way.
They're very much like a polite monkey. They're not terribly aggressive. You can get quite close to them.
When you're walking through a forest like this, looking for lemurs, do you hear them first or see movement or what's?
I would say about 70, 80% of the time you hear them.
Are they mad at me?
No, they're just trying to let one another know where they are. This
They're
is
so loud.
Black and white ruffed lemur call, which is one of the great sounds of the Malagasy forest.
I've got two ruffed lemurs curled up on this branch, high up in the forest canopy. They've got the same markings, the color patterns of a giant panda, but infinitely smaller and more slender. So how would you term this kind of forest right here?
Well, this is a higher altitude rainforest, a high plateau forest. We're at about 1,200 to 1,400 meters here, and this is the last big chunk of high altitude rainforest.
It's beautiful with all the lichen.
It really is pretty. It really is pretty, and this is very, very unique as a habitat.
I'm photographing one of the most unique animals in all of Madagascar. It's called the leaf-tailed gecko, and they rely almost entirely on their ability to blend in on the trunks of these rainforest trees. So there's patches of lichens, and if their arm or their torso covers that lichen, they'll pick up the line of the lichen to continue their perfect camouflage. They seem to dissolve into this beautiful environment. Right now I'm photographing the largest of the lemurs, the Tsingy, and he's just in the open. I think I'm getting some pretty nice shots.
It's a very special opportunity to be able to see these Tsingy's because, in fact, they cannot be kept in captivity. They've never been successfully kept in captivity. So if you want to see them, you got to come to Madagascar.
They got a beautiful call.
Oh, the call is just fantastic. And you have about more than 60 groups. So this is a territorial call. And what they're doing is they're saying, hey, we're here, don't invade our space, otherwise we'll have a fight. So it's a way of spacing the different groups. The Tsingy is the biggest of the living lemurs. It gets up to about 9 kilos, a little over 20 pounds, and about a meter, maybe 3 feet tall. Fantastic animal.
They have really funny ears, don't they?
Yeah, and funny eyes. They look like they just came off a spaceship.
Well, I love photographing any animal that's got such strong colors and patterns. I love the lines and then the spots and more lines. And towards its head, it actually starts to turn green and red.
Yeah, this is one of my favorites, if not my favorite chameleon, this little high-altitude Furcifer campani chameleon. And to me, it looks like an aboriginal dot painting. I think it's just fabulous. As amazing as it is, it's just one example of the spectacular diversity of chameleons that you have here in Madagascar. More than 60 species, more species of chameleons than in any other country. So it's again, one of these wonderful flagship groups like the lemurs that really make Madagascar what it is.
I love photographing chameleons. They're so strange. They're the animal that seems to be made up of parts from all sorts of other animals. One of the most unique features of the chameleon is the fact that their eyes move independently from one another, and it gives them this really comical appearance. This is the Parsons chameleon, one of the 2 largest species of chameleons here in Madagascar. Large enough, in fact, to even eat birds. Incredible animal. And you can see how slow this animal moves. And it's a strategy not only enabling it to catch its prey, but to escape predation by birds of prey and other animals that might, in fact, zero in on these creatures. They're an extraordinary animal, a reptile with personality.
This is just the most beautiful of all the lemurs. This is the diademed sifak. It's the second biggest after the Tsingy, and it moves by vertical clinging and leaping, and it's capable of these incredible jumps. It can probably jump 30 feet at a shot.
It's really got a lot of colors to it.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
You know, Russ, this rainforest seems to go on forever, but how big is it actually?
It's really a tiny fragment. This particular reserve in the adjacent national park is only a little over 10,000 hectares. It's about 25,000 acres. And Madagascar has already lost 90% of its original natural vegetation, and only 3% of the country is conserved. So there's a huge challenge ahead to make sure that virtually all of the remaining intact forest is conserved because it has so much biodiversity packed into it.
We get a view of what deforestation looks like in Madagascar as we drive through a forest recently slashed and burned for farming.
I love those serendipitous moments when you get unexpected photographic opportunities. This is amazing. This tamarind tree behind me is literally full of giant fruit bats with wingspans up to 3 feet. It's very cool. I've never photographed fruit bats like this before. I'm getting a really nice shot right now of a single bat hanging, and the sun is just catching his eyes in a very nice way. And it's beautiful. It looks happy, sitting there in the breeze and looking straight at me. Not a bad shot for an upside down bat. The fruit bats are known also as flying foxes because they really do look like foxes with big wings. Right as the sun will set now, they all take to the air. And when they fly overhead, the sun backlights through their wings.
Madagascar's diversity of landscapes becomes obvious as we enter the spiny forest.
Well, this is kind of a pretty tough environment to have a village.
Well, this is a village of the Antandroid people. These are the people of the spiny desert, and they live in what are probably the harshest conditions of any human group in Madagascar. Very little water here, and obviously it's quite difficult to eke a living out of this desert. But they manage to do it.
Yeah, everybody's hanging out under these trees.
Yeah, trying to keep cool in the heat of the day.
Do you know how to say hello?
Salama tumku.
Salam tumku.
Salama tumku.
Salama tumku.
Navovo.
Salam tumku.
Tada tora na eto.
Forest is really relegated to the south and the west part of Madagascar, right?
Yeah, it's basically in the southern part of the country, and this region is really very, very special because of the plant species that are found here, 95% of the species and 45% of the plant genera are endemic, not just to Madagascar, but to this region alone.
Walking through the spiny forest is a real treat simply because virtually every plant and tree is unknown to me. They look like cactus, but they're not. They're very pointed and prickly, and yet there's this sublime beauty to the place. It's like a prehistoric garden.
It's quite an experience to be in the spiny forest and suddenly stumble upon two troops of sifaka battling over territory.
Art, this is great because you're getting a fight between two groups. You just saw this one animal scent marking the tree, and now the other ones are scent marking over there. So they're just bouncing towards one. Look, they're right in the border between their territory. And this is excellent. Didn't think we'd see this.
They move so fast.
Yeah.
This is a great place. I'm right on the demarcation line between two troops, and they use this tree right here to go back and forth.
Look at that. Look at the tail. Look at the way he whips the tail around.
Well, let's go and keep following these and see if there's a couple that are sitting in the late afternoon sun. Got a great shot right now, right at the end of the day. The sun has set. It's really in the shadows, and these sifakas who are running around all day long now it's like their toys have just run out of steam. And I suspect this tree is the one that they probably find every evening. They're settling in for the night, and they're just all warm and cuddly, and it's a great shot.
Half the lemurs in Madagascar are nocturnal, so you gotta go out at night if you want to find them.
Just starting to come out. Well, it's a great time to be looking for the mouse lemurs and the sportive lemurs. They should be out. It's nice and warm.
We're looking for eyeshine, right?
We're looking for eyeshine. Yeah, there's a reflective layer at the back of the eyes of lemurs, and glows like coals, orange coals. Oh, there is one. I got one. Got one already. This is a mouse lemur. This is the rufous gray mouse lemur.
So cute. The eyes are so large for a mammal this size. It's one of the smallest primates on Earth. It looks like a mouse, but when you see its hands, it looks very much like a primate. These are magnificent trees. These baobabs are up to 1,200 years old. From a distance, they look like cartoon caricatures of trees, but when you get up close to them, they overwhelm you with their sheer size. And they're literally water tanks. They retain water that enable them to survive through the long dry season. And they're great subjects to photograph. They're almost like upside-down trees with the trunks and the roots reaching into the air. People are drawn towards simple forms in nature, and they don't get much simpler than the baobab. They almost look like children's drawings. I'm just shooting a great shot that exemplifies the backcountry of Madagascar. It's a zebu cart with beautiful baobabs right behind it. Right on cue. They tower over the landscape. They dominate the landscape. And I love photographing them at sunset when the low angle of light really reveals the texture of the trunks, but also highlights each and every limb.
Even a brief visit to this spectacular place reveals its abundance of unique plants, animals, and landscapes. And realizing what we see today is only a fraction of what it once was is a reminder of how precious this island is.
Madagascar's plants and animals have taken their own unique twists and turns through time. Today, this strange and wonderful island is one of the most biologically significant and yet threatened places on Earth. I'm Art Wolfe. Join me next time on Travels to the Edge. It's high summer here in the Brooks Range in the heart of the Arctic Wildlife Refuge, and the landscape is teeming with life. I'll be rafting down the Kongakut River to the vast and beautiful coastal plain. I'm Art Wolfe. Join me on this episode of Travels to the Edge.
500 miles north of Anchorage, the mountains of the Brooks Range stretch west to Canada's Yukon Territory. The North Slope and its rivers drain onto the vast coastal plain and into the Arctic Ocean. The Arctic National Wildlife Refuge lies in the northeast corner of this region. Whenever I fly north to the refuge, I make a stop at a remote Gwich'in community on the southern edge of the Brooks Range. In Arctic Village, I had a great chance to talk to Sarah James, a Gwich'in Indian activist, about caribou, wilderness, and the importance of the Arctic plain.
How important are the caribou really to the Gwich'in?
Oh, we're caribou people. Food are on our table, and it's our tools, it's our clothing, and it's our story, it's our song, it's our dance. Solely depend on caribou and make us who we are. And when that gets disturbed, then we lose our way of life.
Why is it so important to keep the coastal plain intact?
Every year for thousands of years, the caribou go to that coastal plain because the food is there and it's a safe place for them. And it's just like a woman, you know, when we have our child, we want it quiet, clean, and private. And that's what it is for the caribou there. And we want to keep it that way. That's our responsibility.
I'm joining river guide Bob Dietrich and naturalist Nicole Whittington Evans on this Arctic journey. We're heading to the north slope of the Brooks Range to pick up the Congocut River. From there, we'll float through some of the most remote wilderness in North America.
So where are our best chances, do you think, to see the caribou?
Well, they're moving across the coastal plain. A lot of them kind of north of these little mountains here. But a lot of them come right on through this pass, which is sort of a shorter cut.
The richness of this area is incredible.
All right.
All right.
Hey, everybody in.
Whew, that's fun.
Off like a herd of turtles.
This is what I love. When you first get on the river, the beginning of the day, and you just float in every fold, every bend in the river reveals something new. This is exciting. It's a great way of seeing the Arctic because we're so quiet as we float down. Come around a bend, there could be caribou on the bar. 4 adult sheep up on the ridge ahead, and this is just the beginning. Unlike a lot of what people do in the lower 48, which is get on rivers for the sport, this is more of a transportation through a wild country.
They're so wide open, so you can see wildlife for long distances. These mugulls nest on these gravel bars, and they probably have chicks out there now, so they get pretty aggressive when you get near the chicks. Like that one gave us a warning shot.
Yeah.
Sometimes they really scream at you and dive bomb you.
Here comes, incoming.
Here he comes. Oh!
There's a lot of fossils, a lot of shells, fossilized shells within the rock along the shore. So this was all at one time an ocean bed, wasn't it?
Yep. You can sort of see all those layers.
It's incredible. I'm just so anxious to see our first caribou.
It's amazing how the large animals can just disappear in this, what seems to be wide open country.
Yeah, with this low valley here and that low valley there, it looks like a natural funnel for migrating caribou.
Wow, look at the striation in the ice and the blue color. It's fantastic.
Right from here, I can see blue, 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 and then the mountains right above, and it makes this ice look like 40 feet tall. So it's just the juxtaposition, which is great. Let's just pull over and get up on top of the ice and kind of scout where we should be going. just jumped off the raft to explore this off-ice, which is one of the really primary elements of the Arctic landscape. It builds up over the winter months as the river freezes, and each subsequent freeze adds another layer until it goes from the bottom all the way to the top. Some of this off-ice will be as deep as 12 feet, which is pretty extraordinary stuff. As I hike along the rivers that flow out of the Brooks Range, I can find a lot of evidence of this ancient seabed. Many, many rocks hold fossils. Chitons and other crustaceans are really obvious in these rocks. And like everything else that I do, I love to photograph various scales, from the grand landscapes to the wildlife that live in the Brooks Range. And now I'm going to concentrate on doing macro shots of just these shells, these fossils locked in the rock. Up in the Arctic, as with every location I'm traveling these days, climate and the warming of the Earth is changing in profound ways. And in the time that I've traveled in the Arctic, looking back maybe 25 years, I've seen now entire microclimates of trees sprout and grow. We're looking at balsam poplars growing in ravines that were once barren. Wow, this is a beautiful forest. I would never have predicted this is on the north slope of the Brooks Range.
Yeah, I know of very few pockets like this up here at all.
These flowers, these little white flowers are beautiful. The lupin are very, very pretty.
One of the interesting things about these flowers this far north is that we're not experiencing a lot of bees buzzing around us and pollinating the flowers, and that's because the temperatures are too cold often for bees to actually function. And so the alternative in a climate like this is that mosquitoes pollinate flowers like this.
What I like about being in here is when you're on the Arctic slope, everything's so open and austere and beautiful. But for the mind and the spirit, it's kind of nice to have a change of pace. This is a wonderful place to be right now. There's an Arctic hare that's about 15 or 20 feet away under some dead branches, so it feels secure. The only thing I see moving right now is the whiskers. It's just, and occasionally the ears are moving from the mosquitoes, but otherwise, if it just stays still, you don't see them and they're quite happy. That's nice. My mission always is to show things. I mean, I not only want to get a shot of a lot of caribou and the big megafauna, but it's also the little things.
Great to be back on the river.
Yeah.
We're lucky to be traveling down the Conga Cut because it's actually designated all the way to the ocean as a narrow strip of wilderness out into the coastal plain.
Gonna stop on the far side of that creek. Well, oh my God. We saw these sheep from the raft, and we've beached the raft and walked a couple hundred yards across the sandbar to get closer. And it's just a really nice view of a couple young males and a couple females and a baby. Very casual, very relaxed. The Dall sheep is the only wild white sheep in the world. They really are uniquely adapted to this vertical landscape, and in fact, it's why they survive, because they are chased by wolves frequently, and so they don't venture too far from these cliffs above the river. We've just seen a herd of bull caribou. It's our first herd, and they're standing on some ice down here. Beautiful antlers. If we have the ability to get off this river near the off ice and come up over the edge and get a good shot, we're going to try that. We don't know whether we'll be successful because off ice and the rapids, it's pretty difficult to land a raft. We're going to go. I don't think they've seen us yet. Wow, look at, they're heading towards the river. If we get a crossing, that's going to be fabulous. That would be a great thing to see. This is really nice, isn't it? These are beautiful animals, and look how they spread out so that they all have a good view. They've just turned around, they're running towards us. This is what's so incredible. Look at it, they're literally running at us.
Look how large their antlers are.
And when they stop, they all get the front row seats. That's what's so amazing about these animals. They're so adapted to long distance running. Now look at that. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Ah, it's just like flowing water. That is as beautiful as it gets. Wow, what drama. That was so beautiful to see all the same forms with the water. That is sheer drama. Look at the power of getting out of that water.
Yeah, look at the muscles.
And then they came towards us again.
That's a good one.
It's almost like a platoon of soldiers. Yeah. I love these caribou. I mean, they give you a lot of opportunity, and they're so uniform. I mean, look at that. Yeah. Every antler is so huge.
I love their dark eyes, too. The ring
Yeah.
on their eyes.
Yeah, they all look like they've been in fights and lost. Look at the way the sand has filled in the lower portions of these grooves in the ice. And it's just beautiful patterns repeated throughout this entire surface. On a day when the clouds have really shrouded these mountains and I can't find any caribou, I love to find and get lost into the abstract world. It's interesting to me how nature repeats itself on various levels. Right now, the patterns remind me exactly of the graceful curves within the antlers of the caribou. And when I photograph really fine details on the carpet of the tundra, there's also a lichen called caribou lichen that is almost identical to the shape of the antlers itself. So these Arctic rivers aren't known for their rapids, but this is a pretty good set.
Yeah, this is the biggest set of rapids on the river, and that's why we came up here to scout it out a little bit before we just blindly went into it. You guys ready to get wet?
Beautiful.
It's amazing to me when you start flying over this land and you start to see the trails of the caribou etched into the soil. And in some cases, it's probably a foot or more deep. And these trails are really ageless. It's almost like an eloquent writing of the caribou onto the land itself.
Absolutely. And they are playing out an ancient rhythm that has gone on for thousands and thousands of years.
Caribou migrate a long way.
Yeah, it's incredible. They actually, the porcupine caribou herd travels farther than any other terrestrial mammal.
Wow.
And they travel an average of 2,500 miles a year.
So they'll come all the way through these mountains back into the National Wildlife Refuge to drop their young.
That's what they do. They go to the coastal plain to birth their calves. They share this birthing ground with millions of migratory birds who also lay eggs and hatch their young right there on the coastal plain.
The Arctic Plain, really on a clear day, is quite an extraordinary sight because you look to the south towards the Berks Range and you got this skyline of glacier-clad peaks, and to the north it's just this white, thin line of ice that lies along the ocean edge. And in between is the Arctic Plain, this giant nursery. Great. It's midnight up here in the Arctic, in the land of the midnight sun, and there's a huge herd of caribou moving across the slope, and they're just seemingly floating across. It's so sinuous, this line of caribou. It's a great subject for this camera. It seems at times that every square foot of this tundra has a subject, from the micro world of the lichens and the mosses to the small birds that make their nests within this carpet of the tundra. Right in front of me, I have a beautiful nest of Lapland longspurs and 5 little babies, so perfectly camouflaged within the complexity of the tundra. I'm moving in really quick and getting a quick shot. Great. There's 3 Arctic ground squirrel babies. They're just very blasé to my presence, which is the best time to start to get really nice behavior. One of the best shots is when they all stand up on their back legs and they look around. There's a nice catchlight in the eye. There's no wind. It's a very even overcast. It's perfect conditions. We're at a great spot right now. We've come low enough on the Congacut River that now this entire valley is broadened out. Just beyond these last foothills lies the great coastal plain. So these caribou are coming out of all the side channels, migrating right past our camp, up and over these ridges and out onto the plain. There's got to be at least 500 bull caribou going up this slope. It's just fantastic, just great.
Alaska's North Slope is a vast area. At this time, 94% of it has already been handed over for oil drilling and other types of industrial development.
94%?
94% of it.
Wow.
If we allow oil drilling and industrial development on the remaining piece, the small piece of the coastal plain in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, we will be losing a tremendous piece of America's heritage.
I think the Brooks Range in the Arctic Plain really exemplifies true wilderness.
This is the place I think of when I think of the word wilderness.
With every loss of wilderness area, every time we destroy an old-growth forest, we develop a wild coastline, we lose. Because it's important for all of us to know that there are still wild areas out there. I'm Art Wolfe. Join me next time on Travels to the Edge. It's a place where clouds conceal rare birds, where animals blend into the forest, where predators hide in the shadows, and traditional people are disappearing. I've been photographing in the Amazon for decades, and it's always an adventure to return to this enchanted forest. I'm in Cuzco, Peru, sucking oxygen at nearly 11,000 feet. Up here in the high Andes, the mountains drop dramatically eastward into the great expanse of the Amazon basin, one of the most biologically diverse places on Earth. From high in the Andes, we'll descend 9,000 feet through the cloud forests, then travel down the Madre de Dios River to southern Peru, where a string of national parks form the largest area of protected rainforest in the Amazon. My first stop is a visit to the cloud forest with local naturalist Kike, who's going to show me one of the country's most famous birds. Kike?
Yes?
What distinguishes the cloud forest from the lowland rainforest?
Oh, this area is elevation 8,000 feet.
Yeah.
And are located in the east slope of the Andes.
So it's just the slope and the elevation that really makes the difference?
The difference, yes.
These trees seem much smaller than what I remember in the lowland rainforest.
Yeah, because no many sunlight, because always covered by the clouds. I want to take you a nice place called the lek.
A lek? What is a lek?
Oh, it's the place where all the cock of the rocks dancing and looking for.
These are those brilliant
females.
red birds, right?
Yes, the brilliant red birds.
And they're dancing because of courtship?
Yes, a courtship.
Ah, all right. Oh boy. This water is moving fast. Let's get to the lek.
Okay, let's go. It's a short walk to the lek. It's around the corner.
Okay, great.
This is the lek, and you know the cock of the rock is the Peruvian national bird.
The national bird of Peru?
Yes, and also they call, people call cock of the rocks because the females nest on the rocks, on caves.
It seems like this forest is so intact. Mile after mile of this forest, I don't see any logging roads, any clear cuts. It's steep, virgin forest.
Yes, mostly all the cloud forest here is pristine. Good thing is very steep, so no good for farming. And also the wood is no hardwood, so it's no good for logging, so nobody touch it.
I just saw a bird. Okay, I gotta go. Oh my God. See, this is really slow. The bird's coming in. Oh. Okay. This is the payoff shot right now. This bird is so close. Oh. I need to locate. I'm trying to do this because the bird occasionally turns its head in profile. This is the prettiest of the males in a great open spot. Wow, that was fantastic, Kike. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
These birds were beautiful and the light was perfect, overcast and even. Now on to the deep Amazon. And if I'm lucky, we'll see the macaws, right?
Yes.
Bigger, redder,
And
noisier. I think one of the things about the Amazon that strikes fear in people is there's so much mystery in the forest. You know, there's so many animals that go unseen. Poisonous snakes and poisonous insects and big predators like the jaguar. So everything's a little bit of a mystery and a little bit intimidating.
I'm traveling to the Manu Wildlife Center, where I'm meeting conservationist Daniel Blanco. He wants to save the rainforest by fostering dependencies between local Indians and threatened species, and by generating green revenue from taking people like me directly into an animal's habitat.
Art, I'm taking you to a special blind to see the red and green macaws and the scarlet macaw.
What's the biggest threat for these birds?
The black market and the destruction of the habitat.
Somebody told me $300 million industry in the black market trading birds that are captured out of the forest.
Yeah, this is true.
They don't really live in big flocks, do they?
No, they don't live in flocks. They live in pairs only, but they join in the lake or sometimes in trees with a lot of fruits.
What's really nice about this situation is we're far enough away from the birds that the plane of the film is really parallel with the plane of the cliff, which enables me to take a fast shutter speed. All the birds are in focus. I just love the texture of the cliff and the way the neutral color of the cliff really allows the bright colors of the macaws to stand out. What's your long-term goal for ecotourism?
We hope to protect all this area and to have macaws, other animals for a long time. We work with the local people and they earn money. They don't need to hunt or to capture birds to sell, or they don't need these macaws to eat. More value when the macaws are flying than eating macaws or selling macaws.
Ah,
yes.
That makes total sense to me. People come down, they see wild animals in a pristine environment. The animals are happy, the local people are happy and earning a living.
It's working here, eh?
Daniel, what makes the Manu forest so unique, so special?
The biodiversity.
The biodiversity.
We have 13 species of monkeys. We have jaguars, different kinds of cats like ocelot, puma. There are 550 species of birds.
So, Daniel, what is that bird I'm hearing? It's so beautiful sounding.
It's the screaming piha.
Screaming piha?
Yeah.
Well, I've been called that before.
Art. The base of this tree is good habitat for fine frogs.
Frogs. This is one of my favorite subjects, Daniel. Oh, here's one right here. What kind of frog is that?
It's a tree frog.
Macro lens out, and we'll see what we can do. I'm just filling in the flash here. This is nice now. I love the ability to take these pictures and verify what I'm getting. That's just a lovely shot. When I'm photographing these frogs, in many cases, unfortunately, I'm documenting an animal that may not be here in the next 10 years. We're losing amphibians worldwide at an alarming rate, largely because of the ozone depletion. The harmful rays of the sun filtered down through this forest canopy that's as thick as anywhere on Earth is still powerful enough to affect the very delicate mucous skins of these amphibians. What a wonderful little guy. I've got another frog here. This is a very different type. This is what we call a clown tree frog. Beautifully marked on a beautiful heliconia. I love finding these little guys within the context of their environment, and it's such a designy shot. I'm moving in close, I'm using polarizers on the lenses, flash, great depth of field, camera, all perfect, and a really engaging subject. You think it went in the tree or in a hole? They found a coral snake. There it is. My snake handlers are actually capturing the snake. What's so dangerous about these snakes is the head and the tail look almost identical. The markings on the tail and the head are so similar, and even though one's slightly bigger than the other, when they're moving around, it's very confusing. Herpetologists that are trying to collect these poisonous snakes and milking them to create antitoxins often get nailed. When you have a fast-moving snake in the rainforest, it's really confusing as to which end is up, and the snake knows that, so it wiggles both ends. The red colors and the yellow are warning colors. Usually very toxic animals like poison arrow frogs or these venomous snakes really give you advance warning not to play with them. This looks like a small boa. Oh, a little greeting. Now I can get this camera right in position without striking distance. I'm very brave with this one because it's really a small boa. If this one was as big as they get, I would be about 6 feet away. This range is, oh yeah, about 6 inches away. This snake wants nothing to do with me, but he's in a classic defensive mode. I'm going to quickly get some shots and then move on and let him be. I'm not really trying to shoot a pattern shot as much as a behavioral shot. I really love the way that the tail, the back third of the snake is wrapped around the branch, which gives it the support to be able to strike out. It shows the animal in its environment, but more importantly, what it needs to do to survive, which is really anchor itself on a branch so that it can react to whatever is coming within range. They're beautifully marked, and in the case of this snake, is very ornately marked to match the chaos of the forest it lives in. A tapir in the Amazon is a hard thing to photograph. These are very secretive animals.
It's going by this side.
Oh.
Going to this side.
Guy, he's just sitting right there. Oh, that's beautiful. It's a magnificent animal.
The tapir is the largest animal in the Amazonian, and normally they are nocturnal. To avoid predators, they can run very fast into the bamboo paths, but bamboo has spines, and for this tapir, no problem, but for a jaguar, it's a problem. Guys, look.
He went completely under the water.
This is another way to avoid the predators.
I'm gonna try to get a little closer with a wide angle. Okay. if I'm lucky and I don't fall on my behind going down this steep muddy slope, I think I might be able to get a nice shot. I'm gonna fall in this mud, I just know it. But it's really nice as it turns like this. This is close. Great. That's what a guide's for. Thank you, Daniel. You showed me one of the most difficult animals to photograph in the Amazon. This is fantastic. There's a three-toed sloth right in the top of this young Cecropia. Even though this is a wild animal, they've evolved to move very slow. Fast movement by a sloth is equal to death. So the slower they move, the more they blend into the subdued green environment. Why does a sloth grow green algae on its fur?
For camouflage. There are a lot of sloths in the forest, but it's very difficult to see. Sometimes you are looking at a Cecropia tree and you see a dead leaf, but it's not a dead leaf, it's a sloth.
Perfect camouflage.
Yeah, yeah.
Why such long, strong toes?
To climb the tree and to be hanging all the time. They sleep hanging.
Hanging upside down?
Yeah, yeah.
He is in a great, great position right now. Daniel has taken me to this Oxbow Lake, which is a great magnet for all sorts of wildlife. Oxbow lakes really form as the rivers in the Amazon basically cut new channels. The old channels become isolated from the main river, they become lakes. These Oxbow lakes are magnets for a great variety of wildlife, including one of the rarest animals in all of the Amazon basin, the giant river otter. Once numbering into hundreds of thousands, there's only 1,000 to 2,000 left, so they're extraordinarily rare. They're very curious animals, but extremely difficult to photograph. And right now there's several working the shore, and they come up for just a brief seconds. I grab a shot, they get down, and you never know where they're going to be coming back up. You see them right up there. I'm trying to follow a troop of squirrel monkeys, and they're really funny little monkeys, and occasionally they come out onto the bamboo tips and watch us. They're very curious little primates. Trying to follow a troop of squirrel monkeys bounding through these trees is driving me nuts, quite honestly. They just bits of glimpses as they come in and out of this dense vegetation. I'm using a 400mm lens with image stabilization, which is absolutely perfect for the shots I'm getting right now, which is of some Watsons, which are really strange birds. They almost look like a bird that is prehistoric. Really interesting birds that generally hang out on the edges of water courses, and in this case, an Oxbow Lake. They're so funny. my last stop in the Manu region, Daniel and the boatman are taking me into one of the last tribes of the Amazon that still cling to their traditional ways, the Machigenga. So this is it, this is the clearing.
Yeah, this is the traditional house of the Machigengas.
When I walk into a village, I really look all across the village and I pull out the vignettes. What are the traditional implements that they use, the baskets that they use, the food, the clothing, any adornment? All of those are subject to my camera. What I find fascinating about this shot is not only the nice backdrop, but also the textures, the patterns of the baskets that they make here in the forest, but also the beautiful patterns on their kushmas or their cotton robes. I'm photographing this man eating bits of peccary. You know, part of the ecotourism that works near Manu Wildlife Center is that the Machigenga people have agreed not to hunt the really prime animals like jaguar or tapirs and the really rare animals like the giant river otter. They are allowed to hunt the peccary, which is here in great numbers. So they're able to hunt their traditional ways without really harming the ecosystem. And in trade, some of the villagers are employed by the lodge to work there, so they're deriving a really good income and livelihood. Whenever I'm in a village like this, I'm really trying to get a full facet of the behaviors, the cultures, the details that really convey a sense of location for the tribes, but also how they live. It just gives it a nice texture. It tells a much more complete story to the photographs I'm using. This is such a great opportunity to be in the Amazon with a tribe that really is living on the margins. They got one foot slightly into the Western culture, but most of what they do is still hunt and gather foods from the forest in their traditional ways. It's a great privilege for me to witness something that's been happening for the millennia, but also, in a larger sense, to record something that may not happen far into the future. It's a nice shot right there. There's a sense of urgency and a sense of importance to the work that I'm doing. I doubt very much longer tribes in the Amazon will be using bow and arrow to hunt fish. And so getting a visual record of that is really important for me. I've been exploring wild Africa for decades, and I'm here in Kenya's Masai Mara for the greatest wildlife spectacle on Earth. I'm Art Wolfe. Join me on Travels to the Edge. I've been photographing wild Africa for decades. Each time I return, I try to capture it in a new way. The East African countries of Tanzania and Kenya share the open savanna that is home to great nomadic herds. These grasslands stretch from the Serengeti in northern Tanzania into southwest Kenya, where they intersect the large Masai Mara Reserve. Whenever I return to an environment, I'm always working with a guide, and in this case, it's Andreas Befani. He really knows his stuff. And so I'm in great hands when I'm working with him and driving through the savannas of East Africa.
We are in the middle of the migration when over 1.2, 1.5 million wildebeest come from the Serengeti into the Masai Mara.
Why are they coming up here, do you think?
They're coming because of the grass. There's so many of them that they're constantly migrating.
I can't think of any place on Earth where you have such an immense scale of mammals on the move. When I first came to the Mara, like many photographers, you're overwhelmed with the spectacle of all the animals, and I tried to document every bird, every mammal. Now I'm really trying to translate the migration into much more abstract, impressionistic, emotional recordings. When you see this many wildebeest and zebras moving, they invariably kick up the dust. They envelop their own bodies into this layer of dust, which just gives it a sense of art to it, a mist and a softness that is very reminiscent of paintings. In addition to the Great Migration, working in the Mara provides many opportunities. Not only are there zebras and giraffes and elephants, but there's also the predators, the leopards, the lions, and here the cheetah. Ah, that's a nice pose right now. It's looking up. It more than likely is heading towards the impala that it took earlier today. It's very wary because often when they make a kill, other predators take over. So he's watching for lions, he's watching for hyenas, and potentially leopards. Cheetah is the rarest of the large cats in Africa. We're very fortunate to see this one out here in the open plains. The color of the cheetah is so perfectly adapted to the beige of the savanna grass, and then the spots break up its outline until it just blends in to this habitat. After the cheetah feeds upon this impala, vultures and storks will quickly come in, and by tomorrow midday, there will be nothing left of this impala except for the skeleton. It's an amazing ecosystem where nothing goes to waste. The sounds of these hippos are pretty spectacular as they blow air out of their nostrils as they're coming up to the surface. It's just fun to watch them. This is very typical of encountering lions in the bush. Often they're laying down, sleeping because they've made a kill during the middle of the night. Right now I'm getting some beautiful catch light on this one baby. In fact, I'm going to put on an extender which enables me to focus closer and zero right in on this one cub's head. The light is coming right down through the trees and catching the eye of the cats. And these lions have beautiful big eyes, and I just want to accentuate that. An individual zebra is quite striking. When you see a herd of zebras, it's overwhelming with this vortex of motion and line and pattern. To see them come down to the water's edge to drink, and when they all align next to each other, yes, it's wildlife, but it's also pure art from my perspective. This is a fantastic opportunity. All these wildebeest are coming down for a drink, and it just epitomizes the primeval nature of this migration. All these horns, the backs. This is what I live for, these moments where you're just surrounded by wild animals in such numbers that you forget where you are. When these animals are running by at such close range, your senses are overwhelmed. You feel like you're witnessing something extraordinarily special. I totally get lost in the swirl and the vortex of motion and emotion that plays out every year here in the plains of East Africa. Hey, Alexi, I haven't seen you in about 5 years.
Long time. Nice to see you.
Hey, you're looking I've worked with Alexi Peltier many times over the years, and it's great to see him again and to go flying over this wild area. I love Alexi. He's full of beans. He's a great pilot, and he really knows how to put me in the greatest situations when it comes to photography.
I know you like the green colors, you like the pattern, artistic pattern. I know you like the pinkish with the green behind.
And patterns and patterns and patterns.
And I know where to bring you.
Good, good.
Yeah, perfect.
I'm getting harnessed up to get up in the air and do some aerial work over an incredible display of flamingos. Flying up the Rift Valley is always a thrill. For me, it offers a different perspective from which to shoot. We're heading south towards a few small soda lakes. The algae and briny creatures that live in the alkaline waters support up to 2 million flamingos. With a polarizer, I can darken the water, so it's such a stark contrast. It's just artwork everywhere I look. Get a nice shot of this hippo that's lying in the mud right at the water's edge. Whenever I can get two different species of animals in the same shot, I like to do that because it shows the relationship. It's quite alluring to be able to photograph big flocks of birds like this. It matches the spectacle we saw in the Mara with the tremendous numbers of wildebeest. So to move up here and to see up to 500,000 or 600,000 flamingos in a very small lake is a great opportunity. Flying over Lake Natron is like flying in another world. There's nothing I've experienced that remotely looks like Natron with its brilliant red mineral deposits and these ridge crests of salt that define and give pattern to this landscape. I get lost in it. I mean, I'm just totally lost in it.
Leaving the bizarre beauty of Lake Natron behind, we head north towards El Karama, in one of the more remote parts of Kenya. It's a place where ranchers and conservationists are working to protect and restore vast tracts of wilderness.
So physically, whereabouts in Kenya are we? Since we were flying around, I really got confused.
That is, by flying we go quick on different place. Now, the thing is, we are just starting on the edge of the Lake Kipia Plateau. The place is called El Karama here. We have on the south there, we have Mount Kenya. In the west, we have the Aberdares.
Aberdares.
Due north, you have the Ethiopia.
Yep.
And from here to Ethiopia, this is what I call the real Kenya. This is a completely private, unknown, and wild place.
Boy, the sun is nice on these giraffes up ahead. Let's just see if we can't get a little closer.
Oh, yes.
This is beautiful. Look at them. Watch us.
Wow. Look, this is,
they're really curious about these horses, aren't they?
Like in El Karama, we can do things like this, you know?
I love this way of seeing animals in the African bush. Just to be able to move amongst these herds is extraordinary.
To approach animals like this is a real privilege. It's fantastic.
Obviously, these are reticulated giraffes. Yes. They're really symbols of the northern part of Kenya.
Completely. As you say, reticulated giraffe is very nice pattern. You see, it's quite clear.
They have these long tongues that are able to really negotiate.
45 centimeters.
Wow.
45 centimeters.
And they can wrap around these really pointy acacia thorns, right?
Yeah, they like to eat the green leaves on top, you know?
Such nice light on these giraffes.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Come on. Come on. Oh, triggers. This horse really moves around a lot. The giraffes are over here. These are beautiful animals, though. You know, in this late light, they just glow against this thorn acacia.
Art, I really count on you to show to our future generation the beauty of the world.
This is my mission. This makes me so happy that you brought me up here. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
That's really cool.
These giraffes are just incredible. I've approached this rhino from downwind. In other words, the wind is coming from the rhino towards me. And these rhinos really rely on the sense of smell, far less on the sense of sight. And I consequently have worked my way in fairly close to this black rhino, one of the most endangered species in all of Africa, once hunted and poached nearly to extinction. But these numbers are coming back now. And it's largely because they're on these protective ranches here in northern Kenya. And they may, in fact, be the salvation of this species. It is so different working with truly wild herds of elephant. They're really hard to predict. And before I get out of the vehicle and try to get a little closer, we're analyzing their behavior. So often wildlife photography is sitting back, giving it some time, reading the animals before we get in position to photograph them.
She's just there. He knows we are here.
Yeah. Even though we have a rifle here, we would never aim it at the animal. We would aim it in the air and make a noise.
Never. In fact, if he charged, we did wrong. Don't move too fast. Yeah.
Okay, that's nice.
So we're out of his way. Yeah.
Nice shot of the elephant walking through the vegetation right now. I'm taking very long exposures, creating a sense of movement. Nice, full vertical shots. Looking at me. Nice, very nice portrait right now.
Keep an eye, keep an eye. Okay, keep an eye, you know we're here. Don't make burst, don't move fast, don't move fast.
Right.
Okay, that's all right.
Nice. This was a very nice encounter with a truly wild elephant. And as you can see, they're not aggressive animals. This one was very curious, walked by, took a look at me. I didn't move. It was very, very nice. I like when they grab the dust and they throw it on their back. Oh, this is getting great.
That is a really great shot. And you know they have 40,000 muscles in the trunk.
40,000 muscles?
They need 5 years to be able to use the trunk.
Elephants are the most engaging. They're always showing different expressions. And look at this one coming straight towards them.
Wait.
I think we walk back.
No, come walk back slowly. Come slowly. We show him that we're not aggressive. Hey, Sean, reverse. Sean, you have to reverse, Sean. Okay, good. Perfect. Now we're okay.
Very nice shots. I like that sequence. Very good. Thank you. This is the way wildlife photography should be. The animals are relaxed. We placed ourselves in a situation that they came towards us. We got our shots. Everybody leaves happy. Right?
Good. And you behaved good.
And I behaved good, which is abnormal.
To fly on this part of the world is the gift of life. I'm passionate about the beauty of the world, and in Kenya, all the ingredients are here to explain how the conservation with people and the beauty can really work. Here is a real gift.
Kenya's rich diversity offers a glimpse of Africa as a whole, a land where the delicate balance between wildlife and people plays out on a grand scale.
I'm Art Wolfe. Join me on the next Travels to the Edge.